I'm going to start my talk by telling you how much I love my Apple Watch. I mean, it does everything, right? I can make Dick Tracy type phone calls. I can buy stuff with it. It nags me to exercise. I can create text messages. I can create reminders. I can create timers. I mean, it's great. One day on the golf course, it accidentally called 911. I guess there's something in that wrist motion that was pressing things it shouldn't have, but luckily they called me and said, "We see you're on a golf course. What kind of emergency do you have?" And I made a joke about, well, my game's really bad, but anyway. So it was all okay. But my watch does something else that's really been impactful to me. Now, those of you who know me know I love to listen to live music. And I do it often. It's one of my passions. It's my hobby. I'm doing it this afternoon. I love listening to music, and I've seen some very famous people. I've seen Elvis in person. Yeah. I've seen Jimmy Buffett a million times. I've seen, Willie Nelson. I've seen Keith Vivens in concert. Right. Yes. The most famous at Eddie V's. He was amazing. And I love listening to music in a big stadium, the Pavilion, a Texas honky-tonk, a little listening room where it's very intimate and you can hear really well. And every single time I go listen to live music, my Apple Watch, it starts buzzing and it gets this big yellow ear on it and it says, "Warning, loud environment." And what that means is the decibel level has gone up enough that it could impact your hearing. Well, it happens every time. I don't take it too seriously. I kind of enjoy it. And it just really puts me into that gratitude moment of, wow, I'm here listening to live music. This is pretty cool. So it's really kind of just a love thing with me. Well, imagine my surprise. One Sunday morning, a few months ago, we're here in church. Keith is on fire. Shara is on fire. CJ is on fire. Anise was on fire. And it was during congregational song number 1. And the whole group of us was on fire, singing loudly. And my watch started buzzing and said, "Warning, loud environment," in church. Well, that triggered me to just have the most intense spiritual experience of oneness, of connection with every single one of you. It was just amazing. I was in so much joy. Now, emotionally, and I'm getting a little teary here, but I was laughing hysterically when it happened because that was the emotion. I was feeling so much joy and happiness and so much oneness. And then about a week later, I had to count money after church. That's one of my volunteer jobs here. I do it about once a month. And I went over there, and we had to walk through the big room where the youth and family ministry is. And it was loud. My watch did not go off, but it was loud. And I thought, wow, I'm having another loud environment moment because, again, there's about 14 kids in there, 5 or 6 adults. I felt this immediate connection. I felt this immediate love. I just felt this complete bliss and joy. And so I started kind of thinking about that, and I kind of have coined that little phrase of warning, loud environment as a God moment. That's a God moment for me. And I like having a buzzword, so I've been using it. And then I had a slightly different kind of warning, loud environment moment. Several months ago, Reverend Sonia taught a class. She teaches lots of classes here. She runs lots of meetings here. This was one of them. She's always great. And this was a big one. There was probably 30 people there. And a few days after that, I started thinking, well, I would have done that class a little differently. And so I thought, well, it's my duty as a church leader to send her a text message with some of my perspective and ideas. I mean, bless her heart. She only has a PhD. She's only been to ministerial school. I've done none of those things. But my ego thought that I should send her a 47-page text message about all the things, all of my spectacular ideas about this class. And I did. And she read it and she said, "Oh, thank you for your perspective." Well done, Terri. And a few days later, I was still excited about this. And it was Tuesday, so it was Course in Miracles. And I noticed a few people had been to that class. And I said, "Oh, what did y'all think about that class?" But before I let anybody answer, I told them what I thought about that class and my brilliant ideas. And a few people kind of shook their head, and one or two people said, And then one guy, not really loudly, but louder than he normally talks, and very confidently said, "We are not going to judge this. We are going to learn a different way." And I said, "Wow, warning, loud environment, this is God talking to me. This is God talking to me." I don't know about anybody else, but I took that as a personal message. And I thought, wow, it's true. I judge everything. I'm good at judging, and I enjoy judging. And so now, once he said that, I can now recognize when I'm judging much more quickly. And I can kind of say, And I am trying to learn in a different way, because we're all very different. We think differently. And my way is not necessarily the right way. So I'm learning to learn differently. Now, I titled this talk, "Warning, Loud Environment, in Awe of That Small, Still Voice." Because I am in awe. That's our theme this month. I am in awe of how God talks to me. Sometimes it's a big bang. Sometimes it's yelling. Sometimes it's, "I got to get your attention." But other times it's a whisper. Sometimes it's just a nudge. And you have to kind of develop that knowing of when it's a warning, loud environment, I need you to listen to this. Now, Charles Fillmore, he talked about this small, still voice. And he said, we have to silence our words to be able to hear it. And I like that he said words, because that means not only our physical words, but it means all those words in our head, all those words. So if we silence those, we are able to hear the small, still voice. And I think that's a really good thing that Charles Fillmore taught us. Now, there's also something that the Bible teaches us, and that's the story of Elijah. So this is an Old Testament or Hebrew scripture story, so it happened a long time ago. And Elijah was told to go up onto the mountain and that the Lord would pass by. And now these were the days where, they didn't have Fox News, they didn't have CNN News, they didn't have TikTok, they didn't have Taylor Swift, they didn't have Facebook telling us what we're supposed to know about, right? So how did they see God? They saw God in nature, and they saw God in magnificent natural happenings. And so here's what happened with Elijah. He was told to go up, sit on the mountain, and God would reveal himself. So he goes up, and all of a sudden this crazy wind happens. I mean, there's rock smashing. It's crazy. This is in 1 Kings chapter 19, by the way. Crazy wind. But the Lord was not in the wind. And a little bit later, this earthquake happened. I mean, this major earthquake. But again, the Lord was not in the earthquake. And then finally a fire happened. I mean, come on, warning, loud environment, all these things going on, right? The fire happened, but the Lord was not in the fire. After the fire, the Lord spoke to Elijah in a whisper. And this was really telling people that the message behind this story is God can speak in a lot of different ways. It's not just through natural phenomenon and weather and stuff. And this also really led for people to be able to understand that Jesus could speak for God and other people. You could hear God in others. So I think this is an important story. Now, tomorrow is Earth Day. So as you celebrate the earth, you can look for God in nature. You can look for God in the magnificence of nature. And I plan to do that. And I encourage that. But also, look for God in other ways. It can be a song on the radio. It can be something you hear anywhere. Just look for God everywhere. Now, I've explained to you guys before that I go to the gym 5 days a week, and that's pretty impressive. I'm pretty proud of myself for that. And the key to me going to the gym every day is that I have a friend that goes with me. And we meet up every day, and we gossip, and we talk, and we yak for an hour on those treadmills. I think my little line and joke that I use is occasionally a trainer will walk through the gym and say, y'all are moving your mouths faster than your feet, pick it up. So, true story. And so it just makes that time fly. Well, when she's not there, if she's on vacation or got something to do, I am miserable at the gym. And I'll look down at that treadmill, and it's like 2 minutes. It feels like 47 minutes, It's ridiculous. So sometimes I listen to podcasts. And the other day, my friend Chris wasn't there, so I had to listen to a podcast. I listened to Mayim Bialik's podcast. Now, for those of you who don't know her, she's a pretty famous actress, but she has a PhD in neuroscience. So that's what her podcast is about. There's no fluff on her podcast. Most of it is pretty much over my head. But it's interesting, and she does talk a lot about psychology, and she talks about the mind-body connection. And she had this guest on her podcast named Dan Harris. Now, I'd never heard of him, but he's a pretty famous newscaster. And he wrote a book called 10% Happier. And so he was the guest, and it was a pretty good podcast. It kept me on the treadmill. And at some point I thought, warning loud environment. This is God talking to me. I need to read his book. And so I went to the library and checked out his book. And I read it. And it was hilarious. I was not expecting how funny his book was. He makes fun of every New Thought teacher there is in a really funny way. He made fun of himself through his entire journey to learn how to meditate and to be able to do it well. And he became a Buddhist. And the book is hilarious. You have to read it. And people would ask him, like, well, what does this meditation thing do for you? And he would say, he would just start talking, and then he would say, man, I'm sounding real woo-woo, just like Eckhart Tolle, like I just can't do this. And so finally he said, bottom line is I'm 10% happier. So that's why he called the book that. And it really made an impact on me because I can't stand meditation. I am just not good at it. I just don't do it well. Now, I do something called centering prayer. And if I describe that to you, you would say, Terri, I think that's the same thing as meditation. And you're right. It just doesn't have the baggage for me that meditation does. But reading his book, guess what? I was able to learn in a different way. And I have taken away some of the things in his book. Like one thing that really resonated with me is he said, you're trying to meditate and your thoughts are just coming down, your thoughts. And he said, think of them like a waterfall. And you're standing behind the waterfall watching it. You're just observing it. You're not getting wet. You're just observing it. And when you're ready, return to the breath, return to the breath, return to the breath. If the waterfall comes back, that's fine. Return to the breath. Just observe it. And that visual made me able to try just plain old meditation again. And it's working slowly. I'm able to do it better without so much baggage. So I am learning to learn differently and think differently. And that's a pretty cool thing. Now, I think I'm only about 2% happier. So I've got a ways to go, but I'm working on it. And I love that meditation is a way to help me hear that small voice. Now, I know what y'all are all thinking out there. Y'all are thinking, wow, Terri Olson, you are amazing. You are learning to learn differently. You are listening to the loud environment. You're listening to the small voice. You got it together. Well, guess what? Guess what we all have to do once we even start to begin to hear the voice? We have to take action. We have to put feet to our prayers. And that's our Unity 5th principle. We have 5. You know, through our words, through our actions, through our thoughts, we live the truth we know. Through our thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. That's a hard one, because what happens when you start to take action? You think of 794 things that are going to go wrong. You know, that's what you do. We get into that anxiety mode. So we just have to take action. Let me tell you why. This is what I think. I think God has put his will into all of us, and it's all a little different. But he's given us a passion. He's given us stuff that we're good at, and he's given us something that we can really make a difference in the world. But to do that, we have to take action. And once we take action, guess what happens? The universe will support us. You'll find support out there for your dreams, but you got to take that step. So I'll tell you what happened to me this Wednesday morning. I was leaving the gym, and all of a sudden I get a text message from Reverend Sonia. And she says, Terri, can you please speak on Sunday? And I'm reading it going, nope, 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 nope. It's Wednesday. And I'm thinking, and I literally went through my calendar in my head. I said, it's Wednesday. I have stuff to do. My to-do list is made. I have a dinner tonight. Let's see, tomorrow, Thursday, I'm at the LPGA tournament all day long. No, I was just a spectator. I wasn't playing, okay. But there's this big LPGA tournament in the Woodlands this week. And I was there all day Thursday. So Thursday's spoken for. Friday morning, I knew I had a coffee and breakfast in Conroe. And then Friday afternoon, my neighbor's daughter was getting married. So we had a big wedding to go to all Friday night. And Saturday was my husband Barry's 75th birthday. So I had plans. There was no way that I could speak on Sunday. But I just connected with Holy Spirit and typed back in that text message, yes, I will speak. And the universe provided, because I knew, and I thanked God that he would provide, and that I just thanked him for the opportunity to come up here and be love and to show love and to love all of you, because I knew it would be absolute good. Thank you.